take me back to 1989 and just like the growth up there through the last 30 years. When people think breakfast, a lot of times they're thinking cheap, inexpensive, fast, like throw some hash browns and some gravy and some biscuits on a plate and let's ride. I would say, this is like my outside opinion, it's like you pay for what you get at your restaurant, right? Especially at
Well,
Patachou.
here's the trick that people don't understand when they say you pay for what you get. You pay for what you get everywhere. Restaurants, when you get a $3.99 meal, don't deceive yourself. You are paying for what you're getting. And what you're getting is a remarkably poor quality food. If price is what's the most important thing to you, I get it. Here's another way to look at it. I studied economics, so I always bring things back to the subject that I'm so into. You have to define value. And when it comes to food, most people, most consumers define value as the most for the least. The most amount of food for the least amount of money. That has been the American food model since the agricultural push. The whole trick that, the wool over people's eyes is that they are getting a bargain. There are no bargains in life, especially when it comes to food. And what happens when you buy into and insist on supporting the definition of value being the most amount of food for the least amount of money, what happens is everyone who has been part of that process of producing that food is on the lower rung of the ladder. When you don't prioritize the quality, you also do not prioritize the lives and work of the people who have created those items.
There's a reason that we're getting $4.99 t-shirts from, like, what has to go into that, from sourcing to creating, and like to get it over here for a $4.99 shirt.
That's right. And what the fallout, the collateral is, who's being hired, how they're being treated, how they're being paid. You get where I'm going with this. So I think there needs to be a real switch and a real subject conversations. At the very heart of it, I believe so strongly that there is dignity in all work. And that means that I think it's just shit in the food world that the person who distributes the food, big distributors, make more money than the people who make the product, or pay more money for the packaging than they do for what's inside the packaging. I don't know. These are things I think as a society we should be discussing at dinner tables.
Are you familiar with the story of Patagonia?
I am.
And like, I'm getting like very Patagonia, just like vibes from the way you're building, the way you've built your restaurants, your company, to the way that they built that, where with a priority on quality, where it's like you buy a Patagonia jacket or whatever, it's supposed to be like, hey, for a long time, I think they just changed it. For a long time, it was free repairs. Now it might be like $5 patches or whatever.
I was just in the repair shop in Manhattan with some Patagonias that I've had for 20-some years that, like, the zippers failed or something. I think I paid almost nothing to have them fixed.
Like, you can ship them in. I just did this with a jacket last year, right?
I happened to be in New York, which is why I like, I'll take my Patagonia stuff to the repair store.
Where it's like, this is the last jacket you're supposed to buy. This is the last, whatever shirt, other things. And I'm getting that vibe where it's like you're paying for quality, but you're also like, people want to go work at Patagonia because they have such a good work-life balance and they're treated well and they're paid well. They're like good, they just treat their people right. So I love the whole ethos behind the brand that you've built.
It's ethos, and that's what values mean. It means your ethos. And one thing that I respect about Patagonia, which I try to emulate, to be honest, was this gap, having a narrow gap between what I said we were and what we were. Most companies have a large gap. Some companies have a gigantic gap. And, if your definition of value is the most for the least, you're talking about a company with a large gap.
Look at a major fast food commercial on your television and the burger or the chicken sandwich or whatever you see there looks really, really good, and go order it at your local fast food joint. And talk about a gap between what you say and show you are versus what you actually are, and it is pathetic, honestly.